pretty crazy. I'm talking to you today from Portland, Oregon. I was in San Diego last weekend, left down there. It was in the mid 70s, beautiful sunny day. I left Oregon to head down there and left snow. But yesterday was pretty crazy, stormy, and today it's a little calmer, but it's still pretty entertaining out there. Old Mother Nature having her way with us. But we're going to get started right now. We've got a lot of information to get through. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you haven't been on one of my presentations before, I will say that, hey, CC, I've got an issue here. That's not what I'm trying to say, but my screen went away for some reason. Hold on one second. I am sorry. What is going on? Preview. It just went away. So I need to be able to see what I'm looking at.
One moment, everyone.
So we all need a wonderful daughter like I've got here to make her dad look good. It's the world's toughest job.
Are you trying to go over?
No, I hadn't touched it, but we're good. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that little hiccup. Technology. Anyway, so we're going to talk today. We're going to talk about 401k plans and business startups, rollover business startups, ROBs they're called. We'll talk briefly about retirement accounts too and getting them started. And anyway, so we've got a lot of material to get through. Hopefully we're going to provide you some opportunities and solutions to your situation. I would say in today's world, this is one of those things where it's complicated, but it's not that tough, right? So you've got the devil's in the details. We're in a world where everybody wants AI, nobody wants to talk to anyone, everyone wants to text or email. Call up, come in. You don't have to come in, but just give us a call to go over this stuff. It's all about proper preparation and moving forward. You've got to do things in the right order. You can't get over your skis and do things in advance, because those things that you do before you're ready to can create prohibited transactions and really be problematic in this space. So I really feel like if you've been on my other presentation, you hear me talking about diving. The fundamental rule in diving is plan the dive, dive the plan. If you're a pilot, you're going to figure out what you're going to do. You're going to file a flight plan. If you're boating, even a rafter files a float plan. So you got to figure out what you're doing, get your ducks in order and then move forward, because this is, even though it's not that difficult to get things done, if you're out of order, you can create big, massive tax consequences. The only dumb question is the one you don't ask, and we're here to help you out. And it's one of those things where, the only dumb question is the one you don't ask. So call up, go through the stuff. Don't be afraid of speaking to people. There's no cost or obligation. Give us a call on this stuff. And even if you're in a situation with somebody else, let's say you're not getting answers, call up, all right? Because we really want to make sure people are doing things the correct way. It's a very interesting time. We've got a new president in place a month in, and I was thinking as I was putting this presentation together, getting access to retirement accounts, if it's a 401k plan, there's definitely restrictions there, but a common place or time to get access to those funds is if you are in between jobs. So if you think about whether, I won't get into politics today, but if you're one of those people that have been impacted by the new administration, maybe by Doge, you might be in between jobs right now, and you might be upset about stuff. But you think about, okay, there's also an opportunity, because those funds that were in those retirement accounts, you now have access to. So previous employer plans, we can do a lot of different things with. And I think the biggest misunderstanding people have in this space when we're talking about IRA and 401k investments is people think they have to pull money out of the plan to go do what they're doing. We're not pulling money out of anything. We're just going to change, we're going to create the investment vehicle. We're going to change the format of that money. Any IRA can be self-directed. 401k plans, we've got some different criteria that need to be met. We're going to talk about all those things. And just a little bit about me real quick. I don't have time to talk about me much, fortunately for you, But my brother and I, Tom, founded a company called Equity Advantage, 1031exchange.com in 1991. It was a result of our needs to do 1031 exchanges. We got into the business from the application side. We would buy and invest in properties, work through what we needed to do with those properties. We would increase the value, rent them out, refi them, hang on to them for a year or two, then do an exchange out of those things into that new property and keep rolling things that way. We put the exchange company together, and our 1031 clients were looking to us to, hey, I've been told I can take my IRA or 401k plan and go access that money and go make additional real estate investments. And yes, that was possible. And it was really tough in those days because we're talking about the late 90s, early 2000s. Trust companies would give presentations on this stuff, but really, trust companies would give presentations on them, or maybe some investment sponsor would give a presentation on self-directed stuff. Obviously, the investment sponsor was just interested in getting your money into their project, and the trust companies they do a great job of holding the money. They're like banks, but their background really is an investment. So we ended up putting IRA Advantage together to accommodate our investors' needs, and that company ended up growing into a variety of other opportunities too. So if you think, and that's IRAadvantage.net or .com. But if you look at this stuff, think of us, we're not in the 1031 space or taxed world space, real estate. Think 1031, and Equity Advantage is an exchange facilitator there. I'm going to differentiate ourselves from intermediaries or accommodators. Accommodators accommodate. You got something you're selling, you're buying, and you want somebody to put the paperwork together and shelter you from gain, they're going to do that. An intermediary is sort of the same way. A facilitator is going to be an active participant of the transaction. That's where we are. So people come to us, whether they're investors, developers looking for different things to happen, syndicators, they come to us looking at tools to make transactions happen. So that's our specialty in the tax world, is 1031 exchanges through Equity Advantage. In the qualified money world, IRA Advantage does the same thing. We don't sell investments. We don't provide investment advice. We provide the investment vehicle to get you out of what you don't want into what you do want, whether you're talking taxed money or qualified money. So thank you for joining us today. That's the end of my advertisement. You don't have to suffer through that anymore. Self-directed, this is one of those things. My big pet peeve in this whole space in the qualified money world is, if you talk to any of the big houses, they're going to say, oh yeah, we've got self-directed IRAs. And their definition of a self-directed IRA is an account that's going to allow you to buy what they have available on their investment menu. A truly self-directed account is an account that actually allows you to invest in anything the law allows. And there's very, very little restriction. We're going to talk about sort of the two golden rules with the self-directed world. So a self-directed account, truly self-directed account, is going to allow you to buy anything you currently have on Wall Street. It's going to allow you to buy anything else the law allows. People come to us when they want to go out and buy real estate. Typically, they want to buy notes, make loans, or they want to invest in some other private placements, that type of stuff. And that's what's going on there. And that's what really helps them go. Once again, we've got, looks like a little blip. I've moved a couple slides and it didn't catch up. I'm too fast for it, I guess. But when we're looking at these self-directed accounts, it's really a truly self-directed account is going to allow you to make these investments on a very, very broad spectrum. All right, and really, honestly, the way the law works, unless it's specifically prohibited, it's therefore allowed. So it's really wide open for you. So when we're talking about self-directed accounts, we all hear ads for these companies saying, well, yeah, use our self-directed account. And or let's say one of my favorites recently is, hey, get a gold IRA, because a gold IRA is going to allow you to buy gold. Well, a gold, there's no such thing as a gold IRA. It's just another IRA that company's put together to allow you to make that investment in their product. A self-directed account is going to allow you to buy the gold. What about a crypto IRA? You want a crypto IRA? Well, that's a self-directed IRA. You can buy crypto if you want. And really, it's been said that with crypto, Bitcoin, all that stuff, the ideal way to make those investments is with a retirement account, because you're not triggering gain every time you're converting or using that money. Where in the tax world, if you just take money out of your pocket, buy that stuff, every time you go to cash, you're paying tax on that stuff. So really, when we're talking about making some of these investments, especially in that crypto world, and crypto's hot at the moment. If you don't, for future context, it depends what time of the year, what month it is, what's going on with Wall Street, everything else. But right now, it's sort of going through the roof. But I would argue that IRAs and 401k plans are probably the ideal way to make those investments. If you want a gold IRA, a self-directed account is going to allow you to do that. Any basic self-directed IRA is going to allow these things to make those investments. A checkbook IRA is really the ultimate when you're going to, if you want immediacy investment and total control. The downside of those things is there's no guide wires. There's guidelines obviously, but no guide wires or rails for you. So you have to be diligent to do the right thing. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the basic rules in a second. But once again, self-directed accounts are going to allow a huge investment. They're going to allow you to own everything you currently own and anything else the law allows. If we're talking about taking IRA money, I'm going to tell you this. Look, our accounts in the IRA space, I'm going to tell you, leave your Wall Street investments with your Wall Street advisor. You don't want to have them back in the self-directed account. You want to have some isolation because a prohibited transaction with an IRA would constitute a complete distribution of all funds in the account as of the first day in the year in which the indiscretion occurred. So that's a big penalty. If we're talking about 401k plans, it's a different consequence. So it's not as important. And I would say move everything you got, anything that can qualify to roll into 401k plan. We're going to move into the plan. You're just going to establish a new account with your financial advisor and the new plan's name and EIN. But once again, with IRAs, I'm going to encourage you to keep what you want in Wall Street with your financial advisor where it is, and only move what you want to move in the self-directed world into these new self-directed accounts, just because you isolate those accounts and there's no vulnerability to the Wall Street stuff. Because in the Wall Street world, yes, you can pick a bad investment, it can go down, but you're not going to have the ability to commit a prohibited transaction. Where in my world, a truly self-directed account, a checkbook IRA, it's possible to really screw up, and any funds in that account would be treated as distributed and therefore taxable to you. So it's really important that when you're doing these things, like I said, plan ahead. It takes time to establish the accounts, and you want to be careful. And we're at a point, I've got a lot of clients. I've been dealing with the investments and deferrals since 1991. So I've got a lot of accounts, a lot of clients that we've been working with for decades. And a lot of, as we get older, we're probably more concerned with preservation of capital than actual growth. When I was young and getting started on all this stuff, I probably was, I hadn't yet knocked down enough times yet to be conservative on stuff. But today I definitely look at things differently. And our clients, a lot of them, it's interesting to me that when we talk about 1031s, I might have a client in the 1031 space for 10, 20, 30 years, and I've never seen them in the office. And we put a retirement account together for them, and they come in and see me. And I said, well, gee, Susie, why? I've never seen you before. Why are you here now when we're putting the retirement account together? And Susie will say, well, gee, this is my retirement. And for some reason, people look at that money as they're more careful with it than the 1031 money for some reason. And in my mind, it's all the same. It's all the 1031 stuff can give you income today, but ultimately at the end of the day, we're deferring all the gains into retirement and get you where you want to go, so you can enjoy life when you decide to step away from work. And if you're young enough and successful enough, you can do that early too. So anyway, like I said, only dumb questions, the one you don't ask. The solo 401k. So we're going to talk about IRAs, self-directed IRAs. We're going to talk about solo 401k plans, and we're going to talk about rollover business startups today. We're going to finish the presentation up with a few examples of transactions. These are transactions we've done. None of this stuff is hypothetical. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to be, there's a little question panel. If you are a real estate broker in Oregon, you want CE for this class, it's good for 1 hour. Reach out to Seymour at 1031exchange.com, and she can get you the CE on that. We will be sending out the slide deck, and this will be on YouTube also, which, by the way, if you have not been on our YouTube channels, there's information. If you go to our Equity Vantage YouTube channel, there's information on exchanging, opportunity zones, charitable remainder trusts, all kinds of, there's hundreds of videos up there on all different aspects of investment, not just on 1031s. If you are looking for more information on the retirement side, check out IRA Advantage on YouTube. There's a bunch of videos up there on all different aspects of stuff too. So, you know, I always jokingly say that, you know, if you're looking for the information, it's going to be there. If you're having a hard time falling asleep some night, maybe tune into it, and it'll put you to sleep too. But all in good fun. So we talk about IRAs. IRAs are going to be applicable in some situations. 401k plans are applicable in other situations. When we're looking at checkbook IRA, it's a combination of a IRA and a limited liability company. If we're looking at a rollover business startup, it's a combination of a 401k plan and a C corporation. So obviously in-house here, we deal with a lot of different things, and we try to have fun. So it's really something that I take pride in, getting solutions out, getting people where they want to go. So how and when should I create these accounts? All right, any IRA can be self-directed. So we can take whether it's a SEP IRA, Roth IRA, traditional IRA, simple, it doesn't really matter. We can self-direct all of those things. An inherited IRA, which is a beneficiary IRA, all those things can be self-directed. If we're talking about taking IRAs and moving them into 401k plans, we've got a different situation. We can't move beneficiary IRAs or Roth IRA money into the 401k plans. After we've created the 401k plan, you can do in-plan rollovers to a Roth. So you can have a Roth component in your 401k plan. We just can't do the initial funding of that plan with those two accounts. When we're looking at 401k plans, it's a different situation. If you're happily employed, current employer plan, under 59 and a half, you're stuck. As soon as you hit 59 and a half, you can do in-service rollovers, and then we have access to money. Previous employer plans we can work with also. So it depends on what that source of money is, what we're doing with these things. But once again, if you got questions, give us a call. We're happy to talk to you about those things. Why do people come to us? I talked a little bit about our roots and why people came to us at the beginning, but people, you know, if you look at things and why do people typically come to us? Originally it was for real estate, but you know, people come to us because they're tired of the stock market's roller coaster, the ups and downs. I laugh because my wife is the one that tackles all my Wall Street investments. I just can't take it. I don't like gambling. I don't go to Vegas. If I go to Vegas, I'm going to be there either to work on or I'm going to be there to watch some entertainment, but you're not going to see me gamble. I just can't stand it. So I'm not that way. And so my wife takes care of all our Wall Street stuff, and she gets so frustrated because sort of the golden rule is don't buy or sell on news. And that's all everybody does. And especially with all the immediacy of investment and all the personal investing these days, it's just, you watch the market. It's just really entertaining, frustrating to me, but entertaining to watch. People come to us for greater financial control. What do I mean by that? Well, you can buy literally anything the law allows, and you can do it at the time you want to do it. So it really opens things up, gives you greater flexibility. Invest in what you know. Now, if you've seen my videos before, I will sort of poke fun at Martha Stewart. And you know, think about this and think about, we're in a situation right now where really our government is really finally being put under a microscope on things. But if you look at insider trading, it's against the law, right? And somehow all these politicians end up, you know, they make a couple $100K a year and they end up worth tens of millions of dollars. And I'd really like to know how that happens. But part of it, I mean, if you look at the trading that some of these people do and the success of their Wall Street investments, it's pretty amazing. They're really good at it. But you know, in the Wall Street world, Martha Stewart takes a fall, and you know, I would, without hesitation, I'm going to say she's not the greatest violator of insider trading. I'm sure of it, and yet she's the one that, you know, got hit on it. So in my world, in the self-directed world, if you're a mortgage broker and you want to make loans with your retirement account, you can do that. You're a real estate broker, you want to take your retirement account and go buy real estate, you can do it. So why not? And really, that's one of those situations where you're reducing risk and hopefully your yield is going to increase because you're actually able to use your professional knowledge in your retirement. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Increase investment flexibility. Why have a plan that only allows you to buy one thing when you can have a plan that allows you to buy literally anything the law allows? Once again, literally anything the law allows. The only thing you cannot buy, I'm getting ahead of myself, I'm so excited, but with IRAs, you can literally buy anything other than collectibles, life insurance contracts, or stock in a sub S corp. 401k plan can buy literally anything other than collectibles. So you name it, you can probably make that investment. I would say real estate, real investments, not alternative investments. That's one of my big pet peeves too. So anytime we're in a precarious time and economically, there's a flight to hard assets, tangible assets, inflationary hedges. And we all hear about gold, gold, buy, like I said earlier, the gold IRA. I have lots of clients that buy gold. All right. So, but if you buy gold, you're betting it's going to go up in value. If you buy a piece of property, it doesn't have to go up in value to make you money. You've got somebody, if it's a leveraged investment, they're going to be making your payments, and that thing at the end of the day is going to be going up in value. So you've got a whole bundle of benefits to owning real estate. Now, if I pull money out of my pocket, go buy real estate, I've got the equity buy down that's happening. I've got interest deductions, depreciation. With retirement accounts, understand you're not going to have the deductions and the depreciation. And by the way, anything you buy with these accounts, it's not you. Think of it as Susie down the street, okay? Whatever you buy, it's not you. So if you bought a piece of property, you're not going to put that property on your homeowner's policy. It's a new policy in the IRA LLC's name and EIN, or if it's a solo 401k, it's the plan's name and EIN. It is not you. The yield off that property is not yours. It's the IRAs of the 401k plans. Or if we're using a rollover business startup, once again, that's not you. It's a corporation that happens to be owned by you and your retirement account. So anytime we're looking at taking retirement money, one, we're not taking it out of the retirement account world, so you're not triggering any tax in that situation. But two, it is not you. It is truly either the corporation and the ROBs, the LLC or the IRA in that context, or it's going to be the 401k plan in a solo case situation, solo 401k, solo case scenario. All right. But when I talk about this stuff, real investments, not alternative investments, it really frustrates me when we're talking about, think about gold, think about real estate, think about those things, name older investments than those. But if you talk in the Wall Street world, what are those called? They're called alternative investments. They're not alternative investments, they're real investments. That's what I like to call them. That's what I consider them. All right, off my soapbox. You want to make loans by buy notes, make loans, you can do that. Community-based investing, what do I mean by that? You want to make a difference in your town, your community, you can do that. You can take the retirement account and make those investments in that community. You want to start a business in your community, you can do that. Community-based investing's there. Somebody's got a project and you think, hey, that's a great project. We had a big investment development company come to us last summer, and they had a big parcel of property that was currently zoned industrial. It's going to be rezoned into residential, and they sent us investors to unlock their money to make those investments into the fund that bought that property. So, that's a long-term investment. If you're a builder developer, do you want to take 1031 money, which one is timed money? It's got to get in there at a period of time, and typically it's going to have a debt requirement, maybe, or do you want to, and the taxpayer is wanting money off that, they're living off the income. A lot of mom and pops live off their real estate investments. So to make a speculative investment that's going to take time to do, they can't afford to do that. Where IRA 401k money, you can't touch it till you take it as a distribution anyway. So it's patient money. So if you're coming in and you're here today and you're in that world in real estate development, we've got builder developers that have started investment funds, and they fund that investment fund with retirement money. And instead of working through all the red tape of the banks, they're using that investment vehicle, and it works very well. Take advantage of today's opportunities. What is it today? Is it Wall Street? Is it land? Is it gold? Is it crypto? What do you want to do? What's the opportunity that you see today? Does your investment retirement account allow you to make that investment? I'm going to tell you 9 times out of 10, we can create the investment vehicle that's going to allow you to make the investment you want to make. All right. Tangible assets, great hedges against inflation. We've already talked about that. Security. David, what do you mean security? Why would a self-directed account be more secure? Well, it's more secure because you're literally putting the money where you want it. if you've got a basic self-directed IRA, you're going to have money at a trust company somewhere. Do you know the trust company? Are they around? What's their reputation? How long they've been in business? And you know, I would say I've got a lot of people, you know, right now that want to work with funds, not funds, but you know, banks, trust companies, investment opportunities, let's say DST investments or institutional ticks. They basically say, look, if it was started after the last crash, I really don't want to put money there because that person or that entity hasn't been through a bad time. So they're saying, hey, I'm more concerned with preservation of capital than ultimate yield, and I want to make sure I'm working with somebody that's been through a hard time, because if they've never been through a hard time, they might be going into one. All right, so just think about that. But where do you want to do it? Security. You're literally putting the money. If you've got a checkbook IRA, you've got a bank account in the LLC's name and EIN at the bank of your choice. What bank do you like? If you've got a solo 401k plan, that money is not someplace else with some financial firm, nor in the IRA world with some trust company across the country you don't know. It's literally in a bank. With a 401k plan, you've got a bank account in the plan's name and EIN. So you've put the money where you wanted it, where with people that you know and you choose to work with. So that's what I mean by security. And then once again, if you bought a piece of property, for example, if it's unencumbered, which most of our IRA 401k investment is, now you can get non-recourse loans to make those investments, but typically it's non-recourse stuff, or not non-recourse, it's non-leveraged stuff. And in that situation, how does a property go away from you? I mean, any stock could go away, right? Other things can go away, but a piece of property that's unencumbered, how does it go away? I'll tell you how it goes away. You just don't pay your property taxes. And even if you don't pay your property taxes, it's going to take a while. So, you know, if you want to screw it up, I guess there's always a way. But I mean, it's a secure investment. It can't go away unless you just do something like that. As I said, you can buy cryptocurrency, you can buy a new business. What are common objections? So people, when they come into us, they go talk their tax people or they talk their financial people, and they say, well, gee, why would you, and this slide is sort of looked at for probably more real estate context, but they will say, well, gee, you know, why would you buy real estate with your IRA or 401k plan? Because you're going to lose the long-term capital gains tax treatment. Well, that's true, because think about this. As I said, if I put my equity advantage 1031 exchange hat on, I'm living in a world of basis and gain. If I'm looking at put my IRA advantage hat on, now I'm looking at just pure value. So at the end of the day, if you choose not to do an exchange and you've held the property long enough to have it held for investment, then you're looking at long-term capital gains tax rates, which in today's world are substantially better than normal income tax rates. If we're talking about a retirement account, when do you pay the tax? You pay the tax as the money is pulled out. And you can pull out the money without penalty at any time after you're 59 and a half. You're going to pay normal income tax on it. If you pull money out pre 59 and a half, you're going to pay normal income tax plus 10% penalty. Now at 72 years old, you've got to take something called an RMD, required minimum distribution. And in that situation, they're going to sort of look at the value of your retirement account, slice it up by whatever numbers you're in, are in that life table at that point in time. So, okay, you're 72 and it says, you know, you're going to live to 100. Well, then they're going to slice it up by that number, and you know, and you're going to pull funds out at that amount. Every year you're going to do that RMD calculation and see what's in there and pull out the required funds. So we're going to talk about distributions and an opportunity that is really available in the in-kind world. And honestly, I think it's possible in the Wall Street world too. I've just never seen it because I've never seen accounts structured in a manner that would allow it to be done. But we have a lot of people at the end of the day want to take in-kind distributions. And I'm getting ahead a bullet, but we'll get to that in a second. So one, you lose long-term capital gains tax treatment on it stuff. True, but there's nothing you're going to buy with a retirement account that gives you that. Two, they'll say, well, you can't make these investments with leverage. You can't get a loan. That's totally wrong. It's just got to be non-recourse debt. Once again, my comment about Susie, you're not buying the property. Your retirement account's buying the property. So when you buy that property, that loan is not going to be attributable to your credit, your income, or anything else. It has nothing to do with your net worth. The property has to stand on its own. Most non-recourse lenders, and you can take a look at myiralender.com or iralending.com, North American Savings Bank's a bank that's been in the biz for a long time. They specialize in it, and you can sort of look at what they've got. You're going to be looking at lower loan to values, and you're going to have, obviously a little higher interest rate. They're going to want to see at least 15% reserves, and they're also going to want to see people that have experience in real estate. So, it's not that that property has to stand on its own. If there's a default, they can take the property, but they can't go after anything else the retirement account owns, and they can't go after you. So once again, can't be leveraged, totally wrong. Yes, you can, it's got to be non-recourse debt. RMDs, required minimum distribution. So that's another objection. They say, well, gee, what happens if you buy a property or you make some investment with your retirement account, whether it's a rollover, business startup, whatever it might be, and now your situation, you hit 72, you got to take an RMD. There's no money in the account, take the RMD. Now you're going to have the tax on the RMD plus a big penalty. Well, yes, if you did that. But there's nothing that says you can't take an in-kind distribution. So how do you take an in-kind distribution? If it's a property, you could take a deeded interest in the property. If you've got it owned by an IRLC, you could just simply do an assignment of membership interest in the limited liability company. Title doesn't even have to change. If we're talking about a rollover business startup, you just take a distribution of shares of the corporation. So those are all in-kind distributions, and you've got sort of two benefits there. What is something worth? You got valuation opportunity there, and then two, if it's a minority interest in something, it might be possible to discount that distribution by up to 40%. So that's a huge, it's not a problem, it's a huge opportunity, okay? Finally, lose interest deductions, appreciate. We talked about that a little bit and already, and yes, true. If the retirement account owns it, you're not going to get those things. It is possible, though, if the retirement account buys a property, let's say, and has leverage, it may be a situation where there is some of that can come back. And that's just one of those things you talk to us about, talk to your tax and legal people about. We're going to talk to them about these things and work to get you where you need to be or need to be. So I said it's complicated, but it's simple, right? So when you're looking at a retirement account, if I was talking to you in 1031 world, I'd look at four sort of cornerstones. One, something's got to be an exchange. What's given received have got to be like kind. You've got to go cross her up in value and equity. And then finally, we've got to have continuity vesting. If we're looking at retirement accounts, I've got two issues. What do you want to buy, and who do you want to transact between or the benefit of? That's it. So anytime you look at, if you've got a checkbook IRA or you got a solo 401k plan, you look at that checkbook, let's say, you think, okay, what am I buying and who am I transacting between or for the benefit? So that is what you got to look at. It's really, really simple. And you can buy literally anything the law allows, which once again, anything other than collectibles for 401k plans, anything the collectibles, life insurance contracts, or stock and sub S corp for an IRA. Wide open other than that. So rarely is the investment a problem. What triggers problems most of the time is transactions between or for the benefit of a disqualified party. So this page, black and white, and you're going to get this slide deck. If you want it, reach out to see more at 1031exchange.com. Should get you this thing. And you're going to have all this stuff in black and white for later reference. But we've talked about this a bunch. I'm not going to cover it much more. If we're looking at disqualified parties, we have not talked about this much. There's a big stop sign down here, okay? Stop before you do something. I know you get excited about buying things. That property comes on the market and you want to go make the offer before you call us. That business becomes available. Or you went to some trade show for franchises and that person said, hey, you got to sign on the dotted line today. If you don't have it set up, you got a situation where you can't tie these opportunities up before you have things set. Because even though, let's say, a real estate transaction is assignable, for you to personally tie it up and then assign that thing over to your retirement account, that's a prohibited transaction. So if you've tied some up, I'm going to say rip up the deal, rewrite it, between, when your account's set up, rewrite it between the seller and that retirement account, whether we're talking 401k plans or IRAs, or the rollover business startup if we're in that situation too, okay? So disqualified parties, who are they? Anything that benefits a disqualified party is a prohibited transaction. Disqualified parties would be lineal ascendants, descendants, their spouses, or any legal entity owned in a controlling interest by one of those. Now, you can transact along with a disqualified party, you just can't transact between or for the benefit of. Now, the other thing that comes up a lot is people will say, gee, I want to go buy a place for mom. I want to buy a place at school for junior. Those things you cannot do with a retirement account. It's prohibited transaction because you got a disqualified party in those things, and that's where the issue is. You can't buy, and for some reason I have lawyers, law firms calling me up all the time wanting to take their 401k plans and go buy the building that they want to put their practice in. Once again, we've got a prohibited transaction there because we've got a transaction between disqualified parties. So we've got to look at things. Now, you could be a member of an entity, a minority interest is fine. The other thing, if you didn't catch it, I didn't say anything about siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins. So if you found that property or that business opportunity, you want to go do these things, tie it up, get it done before you're ready to go, have your brother or sister do it, have an aunt and uncle do it, something like that. So those things we can take care of, and transacting along with a disqualified party is fine. Transacting between or for the benefit of is not. David, what do you mean by that? Well, that means that if you want to be a member of a checkbook IRA LLC or be a co-owner of a property along with your retirement account, that is fine. You just can't sell to, buy from, loan to, borrow from, or put a disqualified party in these things. So once again, ask the questions. This is why we talk early, whether it's a ROBS, we want to understand, what the source of funds is, what you're going to do with it, whether you're going to be the sole owner of the plan, and we do require you be in there at 5%, but whether it's just you, you're going to have other people there, whether you want anybody else to be, whether it's a brand new startup or whether it's a going concern, whether you want to have anybody that worked for you possibly buy in, have the opportunity to buy in later, or whether you want them out. All these things are questions we're going to have that we need to plan and go through this stuff. So, like I said, you've worked hard for your money. We're going to work hard to keep it yours. And our ability to keep it yours is really directly related to communication, understanding this process, understanding and planning to get you where you want to go. We want to get you there, and we want to get you there, safely and successfully. Pitfalls, traps, exclusive benefit, you bet. Like I said earlier, typical examples of prohibited transactions are borrowing money from your IRA, selling property to it, receiving unreasonable compensation. I'm going to say, so when we're looking at let's say a piece of property owned by a solo 401k or an IRA, you can manage the asset, you cannot work on it. So we like to say you can't get dirty. So you can hire the people to paint it, you can't paint it. You can hire the carpenter to fix the fence, you can't go out there and pound the nails, all right? You can buy a piece of property, you can't park your trucks on it, whatever, all right? So you just got to look at this stuff and really think about it. It is not you. You're not going to take advantage of Susie. She's not going to take advantage of you. What I mean by that is she's not going to succeed based upon you signing recourse on a loan. That's not okay, all right? So Susie, the retirement account, you are you, all right? Can't use the IRAs for security for loan. Buying property for personal use, like I said. Now, something I want to mention is that income or gain attributable leverage. So if there's a loan, the equity is going to grow tax-free, or not tax-free, but tax-deferred. Any income or gain attributable to the leverage is going to have tax exposure. It's called unrelated business taxable income or income tax, UBTI or UBIT. The other situation you're going to have exposure to UBIT or UBTI is in a situation where, let's say, you're conducting business with a retirement account. So, David, what do you mean? This is another pet peeve of mine. I've got so many people, all these flippers, okay? And at the top, I told you a little bit about my background. I didn't flip properties. And today, we're in a world of acronyms, right? So everybody's, oh, BRRRR, BRRRR, BRRRR. Well, that's not new. I've got a lawyer that's retired. He retired probably 25 years ago now. He says, David, there's no new ideas. It's just repackaged. And that's just another repackaged thing with a acronym attached to it today. But where BRRRR fails is they don't throw in that last situation where that refi happens. At some point, that property outlives its usefulness. So at some point, pre-refi, let's say you buy a property with a certain ROI on that thing. As you increase the value of it, the ROI decreases, you got more equity to it. The refi accomplishes additional leverage, which increases your ROI again. But at the end of the day, that property is either it's going to outlive its usefulness. It's going to be in a situation where you get it to a point where it maximizes its return. And at that point, you really need to get rid of it. And an example of that is builder developers. They're going to have a 5 to 7 year hold typically because they know they're going to maximize the occupancy, maximize the return, and they're going to sell it before the building starts needing repairs again. And that's the same situation with any investment property. You can do BRRRR all day long, but at some point you're going to have to put money back into that thing, and you may as well reset, exchange out of that thing into a new asset. But where I'm bringing this up is you're not investing. You think you're an investor, you're not an investor. The problem when you're buying things, fixing them and turning them, it's a business. You're paying normal income tax on those transactions. You're not able to get long-term capital gains tax, and you're not able to do exchanges. If we're talking IRA 401k world, that same transaction, if we're talking about an IRA or a 401k, those basic things, once again, you're conducting business, not investment. You're going to be subject to unrelated business taxable income, all right? An example of an asset going from one to another would be you buy an apartment building and the apartment building's got a laundromat in it. Well, the laundromat's a component of the investment. You're looking at, upon a disposition, long-term capital gain. You're looking at all your normal income through the year, and you're going to treat that income's going to be a component of your annual income for that property. If you are in a situation where you want to actually, so I had a client that bought the property with the laundromat in it. Then he says, gee, the laundromat's great. I want to go buy a laundromat. So then he goes buy the laundromat. The laundromat's a business. So now he's subject to UBTI. So you've got to sort of look at and understand that even you say, well, gee, I've got a Roth IRA. I don't have any tax exposure. Well, even a Roth IRA is going to have tax exposure on leveraged investments or if it's conducting business. So once again, you don't know what you don't know, and that's why you get on the phone and ask the questions. Flipping property is not going to work very well at all, I don't think, with a IRA LLC. I mean, like I said, you can oversee the stuff, but you're still conducting business. If you want to do it's like that flipping property business, you want to have access to more money, that rollover business startup is going to give you access to money and allow you to actually work on the property and do a variety of things you can't do with a 401k plan or a IRA, whether it's checkbook IRA or basic IRA itself. So what real estate qualifies? Rental houses, apartment buildings, office buildings, retail, land, any property be held for investment, future retirement home. So you could buy a home at the beach to retire into. You can't use it in any way until it's been fully distributed as a fully taken out as a distribution. So then it can be your home. So once again, I'm going to say this: you buy a place at the beach, you nor any other disqualified party can use it until you've taken full distribution of that property. All right. Cannot buy primary residence, second home, home for disqualified party, office building to be occupied by a disqualified party. Rollovers, we talked about this slide earlier. Any IRA can be self-directed. 401k plans depends what's going on. You got to be 59 and a half, or it's got to be a previous employer plan. Existing accounts, once again, same things I'm talking about. Eligible sources, traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, simple SEP, educational savings plan. We can self-direct those things. The 401k plans, current employer under 59 and a half stuck, over 59 and a half, you can pull it out. Previous employer plans are going to be fine. I've had people, by the way, I've had people quit their jobs. Owners of businesses step away to get access to their money. I had pre-crash, we had a gentleman that was so convinced the crash was going to happen, and his corporate, the plan that he had, it was a big corporation he was working with, excuse me, that plan didn't allow him to go to cash. He quit his job because he said, look, I can't, if this crash happens, I cannot afford to lose the money in my retirement account, and I want access to it. So he literally quit his job to get access to money. I've had people leave one job, take another job, and this is once again slowing down. As I say, slow down. I'm the one yapping 1,000 miles an hour. Slow down when you're looking to do this stuff. Really take the time to plan it out. I had a gentleman that had left a job, didn't lose it. He left one job to take another job. When he left it, he got access to 401k funds. We started the process with a self-directed IRA for him. He took the new job before we were complete and got the thing funded. The new job had the same parent company the old job did, therefore the plan was the same, and he lost his ability to get access to funds. So slow down, take a breath. If you dive, once again, what another golden rule of diving is, something happens, don't panic, stop. Because what people do in diving is they panic, they shoot to the surface. If you're 100 feet down, you've been there for a while, you shoot to the surface, you got problems. So stop, think, then move forward. Stop, think, make that plan, ask the questions, get ready to go, and then we can move forward. Establishing a basic account. Okay, a basic self-directed IRA is something that's going to be good for, single investments that require no management, that are not time sensitive. So really, to establish an account, most trust companies have online forms you can fill out. If you're working with us, you fill out a 2-page application. It's going to ask a bunch of information about you, what the source of funds are, what you want to do with the money, and you're going to fill that form out, return it to us along with a copy of a photo ID and your current account's most recent statement. We're going to take that information, merge it into the forms, establish a custodial account, and there you're ready to go. Like I said, most trust companies are going to have applications online these days, and you can do that. You don't need us for these transactions. When we start looking at checkbook IRAs, you do need us in that situation. So we're not a trust company. We're, as I said at the top, we're an IRA facilitation company, and we do the same thing in the IRA 401k space we do in the 1031 space as a 1031 facilitator. So we want to know where you are, where you want to be in 2, 5, or 10 years, and we're going to try to create the ideal investment vehicle for you. And it's really very, very simple. Now, with a basic account, understand that to make an investment, you have to submit the investment to the custodian. So they're going to want to know everything about the investment. There's typically going to be a prohibited transaction form that's to be filled out too. And then there's going to, the urgency of investment is going to be critical. They may have an expedited fee that's more than the basic investment fee. But, and I guess I better back up real quick too. When we're picking trust companies, understand, you really got to understand a couple things. One, how they're going to charge you. Okay. Now, Wall Street, typically, they're going to charge you based upon what they're doing, depending on what type of broker you're working with. But in the self-directed world, so Wall Street, you have a hard value at any point in time. You can take a snapshot at any second and see what a stock's worth. So you're not fighting with anybody about the valuation of what you've got there. You might be upset about things, or you might be really happy about things, but you're not going to be fighting over values. In the self-directed world, what's a piece of property worth? It's always going to be highest best use, okay? So it's going to be different for you than it is me. It's going to be different for Susie than it is you. So you always, that value is going to be subjective, and it's going to be subjective on a lot of things. What's a loan worth? You might say, well, gee, it's worth face value. Maybe, maybe not. The last crash, I had an IRA client with $1 million note with a company out of Chicago. The note was bad. Okay, it wasn't worth anything. They knew that. And the trust company kept wanting to charge that client based upon the $1 million value. That's just an insult to injury, right? So I'm really against any self-directed custodian charging my clients based upon the value of the account. What I want to see is a charge based upon the number of investments they've got. Now, keep in mind, if you've got a basic account, every investment account constitutes an investment. If you've got an IRA LLC, they've got one investment. They made the investment in the membership interest in the LLC, which owns everything. So 2 totally different things. The second consideration is, if we're talking IRA LLCs, what that trust company allows you to do. Does the trust company allow you to be the manager of the LLC? We're going to talk about that structure in a minute. Do they require somebody else to be? Do they require your tax or legal people to sign a document stating they're experts all things IRA, which they're probably not going to assign? So those things are considerations when I look at trust companies. And obviously the biggest one is, how long have they been in business? What's their reputation? That's the biggest question before I even dip my toe in the water there. But those next issues are the things that are going to be coming up. okay? But you have to direct the trust company to make the investment upon their approval to make the investment. Checkbook IRAs are great because instead, what we're going to do is create an IRA-specific limited liability company and insert it between the trust company and the ultimate investment. So the trust company makes the investment in the LLC, which you're the manager of. So the member of the LLC is a trust company for benefit of you, and you're the manager of that entity. So what happens is, as we're establishing the custodial account, we're creating the limited liability company. We're going to want a name that is unique. We don't want your name on it. We want it something that every time you look at that name, you know it's not you. You know it's your retirement account. So come up with a fun name, have fun with it, and make it mean something to you. But as soon as we get the LLC together, we're going to get that information to you. You go to the bank of your choice, establish the checking account in the LLC's name and EIN. You're the manager. It's a manager-managed LLC. You're the manager of it. And we're going to direct the investment. As soon as you got the account set, we're going to direct the investment in it. Now to go buy whatever you want to buy, you write a check. You negotiate the investment between the seller and the IRA LLC. You as manager have the power of the pen to do it. You can make the investment by a check, wire funds to whatever you want. Now, that LLC can have you, it can have multiple people in it, okay? It could be your retirement account, it could be your retirement account and your spouse's retirement account, it could be your retirement account and a Roth IRA. By the way, when we're looking at disqualified parties, your traditional IRA and your Roth IRA are disqualified parties to each other too. Your IRA is a disqualified party to your wife's IRA or your spouse's IRA. So all of these things, it really takes the planning to get it set up. To have a multi-member LLC with disqualified parties is not a problem. You just have to plan ahead, and we have to fund that LLC at the same time. If you've got an LLC that owns something, you can't have a disqualified party invest in that existing LLC. We've got to create a new one. So we really have to take the time to plan it up, but it's really, once again, I'm going to say it's a prohibited transaction, transact between or for the benefit of a disqualified party. It's not a prohibited transaction to transact along with a disqualified party. I love 401k plans, solo 401k plans for people that qualify for them. So if you're, let's say, a real estate broker and you want a self-directed retirement account, if you don't have employees, I'm going to say let's use the 401k. It's solo 401k is a single participant plan, or if you work with your spouse, you and your spouse can be participants in the plan too. And they just work great because you've got the max contributions short of a defined benefit plan. You don't have a trust company involved. You just got a bank account in the plan's name and EIN. And you've got no tax on leverage where you do. So income or gain attributable leverage with an IRA triggers tax. You don't have with a 401k plan. You can borrow against the plan, half what's in it to a max of $50,000. They just are really wonderful vehicles for people to qualify. Now, if you've got a business and you've got employees, you can't do this. If you got multiple businesses, you can't just pick one business that has you alone and put this together for that one and not take care of the others too. So we've got a variety of sort of issues that come up with who qualifies for these things. But if you qualify for a solo 401k, they're wonderful. And you know, as I said, it's literally a bank account at the bank of your choice in the plan's name and EIN. You are the trustee of that plan. Therefore, as trustee, you make investments just as you did with the checkbook IRA or IRA LLC. Joint ownership of real estate, there's no perfect way to do it. You can do it tenancy in common. And tenancy in common is nice if you want to exchange into a property you want to buy with IRA 401k funds too. That's the structure because 1031 requires tenancy in common. It prohibits partnership interest. So if you want to own things jointly and you're doing 1031s, whether on acquisition or disposition, tenancy in common is the right way to do it. You can own things as common members of an LLC too. If you'd rather use that LLC structure, you can have two LLCs too. You can have an LLC for your 401k plan, or obviously an IRA LLC is an LLC. So, you know, depending on what you want, I mean, we're happy to create LLCs for whatever you want, however you want. But the joint ownership via LLC has its ups and downs. The tenancy in common has its ups and downs. A rollover business startup. Okay, so that's one of the titles today, and we've got some examples. We're running shy on time. Now, people come to us, and you know, back to my comment on flipping property. One, it's not an investment; it's a business. All right. Two, if you want to flip properties, most of those people want to work on those properties. They can't do it if it's owned by the retirement account. Now, if you want to create a real estate investment company and flip properties, a ROBS is going to be the solution, rollover business startup. If you want to, I had an Intel, somebody retiring from Intel, they wanted to go buy a gold, silver, palladium mine. They did. They retired. We created the rollover business startup, which means we're going to create a 401k plan. We're going to create a C Corp. The plan buys in the Corp. We're going to require our client actually invest no less than 5% in the corporation. The corporation bought the gold, silver, palladium mine. Now he's working for the company that is owned primarily by his 401k plan, but it's something you always want to do. And anything's possible, as my wife likes to say. So ask the questions, work to get where you want to go. So once again, a 401k, a ROBS is a combination of a 401k plan and a C corporation. A checkbook IRA is a combination of an IRA and a limited liability company. So they have to be these structures. Don't come to me and say, no, I want an LLC. I did have a car dealer years ago. Should have used this as an example when we get to the end, but he wanted to own the car dealership in a LLC structure. So what we did is we created the rollover business startup, was an auto dealership holding company, which then bought the dealerships via limited liability companies. So, we can accommodate both, and I would keep an eye on, what once again, for future context, it's February of 2025. We haven't seen what Trump's doing with tax reform yet. We're expecting it. When we have it, we're going to obviously get information out. But, C corporations sound like it very likely is going to be a very attractive way to own businesses, just for tax purposes. So sometimes they're very cumbersome. If you're just a real estate investor, I would say do not ever buy. If you're pulling money out of your pocket, go buy things. Don't buy it via S or C corps. You want to use LLCs. But if we're talking about using retirement money, go do things. These C corporations, and actually, we've got to be careful with what's going on. And even with IRA LLCs, we had a gentleman that was a mortgage broker that bought an title escrow company, and once again, the IRA is conducting business, so tax-wise, it was going to be way better for the escrow company to be owned via C corp than to have it just owned by a disregarded entity, which you're then subject to unrelated business taxable income, which was a dramatically higher rate than the tax rate at the C corp level. So these are, once again, planning issues, and that's why you want to talk earlier. Go slowly. Take the time to invest what you're, investigate what you're trying to do and the best course forward. Call us, talk to us. The more information that's available to you, the better off you're going to be. And we also really want to talk to your tax people and make sure they're all good with what's going on. Now, when we're looking at, let's say I didn't talk about it, IRA LLCs. A self-directed IRA is going to have the same tax issues that any IRA has. So you're going to just talk to ultimately the trust company every year. You're going to be talking to the trust company, providing them valuation of all cash assets that the IRA LLC owns. If it's owned that directly or anything, they're going to want a valuation annually. 401k plan is the same way. 401k plan for a solo 401k is typically a 5500 EZ. It's a form that a lot of our clients do themselves. If we're doing the rollover business startup, we're going to want you to fill out a full-blown 5,500 annually. So, the reporting's there. You're still looking at these plans, owning these things, and you're maintaining them. The IRAs, you've got the trust company to deal with every year. 401k plans, you're going to have the establishment that's, we're creating the plan, getting you all set up. Then annually, you're going to have amendments or restatements. The rollover business startup, you're going to have amendments, restatements for the plan annually. You're going to have a tax return for the C corp annually. It needs to get turned in. Ownership, as I said earlier, needs to be no less than 5% personally. If you want to bring other investors in, that's totally fine. You can have other investors that are owners, or you can have that corporation can borrow money too. A lot of the banks will have SBA loans that are set up for rollover business startups. So that's something that's not out of line, not unusual. The franchise world loves rollover business startups because they see it as a source of capital for people looking for that olive branch to the future. A few examples and we're done. Okay, this was fun because, when I talked about the rollover business startups, I made a comment, you may or may not have caught it, about if you're going to have employees, understand that a lot of people with the ROBs, they come to us because the car dealer, for example, he was a guy that had been sales manager for dealerships for years. He always dreamed of having his own dealerships. And through the years, he was very successful. Retirement account had a pile of money in it, and that retirement account was the olive branch of the future. It was the golden pot the gold pot full of funds that was allowing him to get where he wanted to go. And he had worked so hard through his life. He didn't want anybody else buying into his stuff, right? And in his situation, it's going to be new stuff, so it was different than buying a going concern. So sometimes we have investors that are happy having their employees come in and buy things. Years ago, we had a company, one of the favorite, let's say sporting goods companies in that business was a company in the Northwest, a company called G.I. Joe's. And one of the guys had been one of the upper officers in that corporation. It was just heartbreaking to see that company go away. And so we were looking at sort of getting, doing a new startup for that. And we were looking at the rollover business startup situation. We're also looking at, employee ownership. So it wouldn't just have been him in the corporation, but a lot of the people that had been managers and employees of that company were going to be actual shareholders of the corporation. I unfortunately had an empty building at that time that I was excited to get occupied, and they would have been able to get into that thing too. And so we were looking at creating that structure there. And in that situation, you got to understand when we put the plan together, the plan is going to, if it's a new startup and you don't want anybody buying into this thing, then typically what you're going to do is make the investment, you cannot say, the IRS has said, you cannot say, gee, the shares of the corporation are fully subscribed, nobody can buy into it. That doesn't work. Okay, so if you're in a situation where you don't mind employees coming in and ultimately have the investment option to go into the corporation, great. If you don't want them to do it and it's a new startup, you can say, well, one, you got to be an employee here X time before you can participate. Two, if you cease to be employed here, you got to leave the money in that account X period of time. So that way it makes it unattractive. And like I said, it's really totally up to the business owner whether they want or don't want that option there. But that's one of those big planning issues. So when we put this business together, we're going through all the startup, talking about what he wants to do. And we came to that topic and he just started laughing because, I might be talking to some people that have been in that world, and his situation was like, hey, we go out to sea. I've got my crew out there. We hit the docks, and they're gonna, I might never see them again. So he just felt like these people, it's sort of they get out there, do it, but the last thing they're gonna do is want to invest in the company. So when we created it, we created the plan with a structure that anybody could invest in it if they wanted to, knowing that nobody was going to, and that was fine. And like I said, in the car dealer, it was sort of the opposite situation. So this really gave him the ability to go out and buy the boats he wanted, equip the boats with the equipment, hire the crew, and do what he wants to do. And it was a great opportunity for him. It worked very well. I haven't talked to him in a few years, but it was a great olive branch to the future for him. This is just an IRA investment. And this is a situation where we had, during the last crash, we had a gentleman that had a $3 million piece of property, this builder developer, he was going to lose it. And once again, what can we do and what constitutes prohibited transaction? In this situation, the loan on this property was with Washington Mutual. Washington Mutual was going away. He was having a hard time making the payments. If the bank goes away, the loan goes away, he loses $1.8 million in equity. So he came to us and said, hey, can I take Dad's IRA to pay off the loan? And the answer is no, you can't just take Dad's IRA and pay off the loan. That's a benefit to a disqualified party. Does that mean we couldn't do it? No, we did do it. We didn't do that. But what we did do is we accomplished his objective. And what we did is we created a new limited liability company. Junior contributed the property and received an interest in the new limited liability company for the $1.8 million in equity. You have to have that thing valued. You can't just say, well, it's $1.8 million and it's $1 million worth of property. So you got to have an appraisal on it, have a hard value there, and he contributed the property. At the same time that was happening, Dad's IRA made an investment into that LLC, and the investment was enough to cover the 1.2 loan plus additional carrying costs and ultimately some money to go forward and go vertical on it later. So what happened is, by creating the new entity, the investments by both of them, one, Junior puts the property in, two, Dad's money is in there. Now the new limited liability company owns the asset and has cash to pay the property off. So we not only saved the property, but gave Dad a great investment, because ultimately they went vertical, and the multifamily project was very successful over time. So once again, pick up the phone, ask the questions. Third example, we've talked about this a few times, so I'm not going to burn much time. Flipping property, it's a business. Do you want to flip property? You want to, typically you're going to work on it. That's how I started. I mean, when I was in college, my brother had a buddy that had a tile business. I found myself sitting in PB down in Southern California, Pacific Beach, sitting on my hands and knees, knee deep in mud, concrete, putting Mexican pavers down. And the guy that owned the property rolls up in his little convertible BMW, wearing flip-flops, shorts, and sunglasses, telling us, oh, do this, do that. I look at him, look at my brother and say, okay, we want to be that guy, not what we're doing. But the great thing is, we learned a skill, got into some construction stuff, used those skills to go out and buy properties, fix those things up, and we did that process I talked about earlier: buying, fixing, renting, refining, holding for a year or two, exchanging out of after that point in time, and just snowballed it. And that world, our experiences in that world, led us into the 1031 game, which ultimately led us into the self-directed retirement game. So in this situation, if you're coming to me, you want to flip properties, you want to work on this stuff, I'm going to create a rollover business startup. I'm not going to do an IRA LLC. If you're just wanting to loan money to people that are doing that stuff, then we can use the IRA LLC vehicle. If you're using IRA vehicle, IRA LLC vehicle, whether it's Roth money, traditional money, and you're flipping properties, you're going to have tax on unrelated business taxable income. So you're conducting business, not an investment. Just be aware of that. Another example, this is a situation where this gentleman, you know, as I've gotten older, I always like to say I'm happy to learn, I'm tired of being taught. And I was so blessed. Number one, my parents. My parents always gave me the belief that anything was possible. And thank you, Mom and Dad. And I wouldn't be who I am without you. And so you gave us the opportunities to learn. You gave us the strength to reach for things. I was blessed to have one of my father's patients actually as a mentor in real estate investment. And this slide is another one of my mentors. When I moved to Oregon to buy property in 1990, this gentleman was the first broker I met, a CCIM. If you're not familiar with CCIMs, I'm going to tell you: Certified Commercial Investment Member. It's sort of the doctorate of commercial real estate. It's NAR's commercial division. They specialize in property valuations, but really making sense of investments, negotiation, all this stuff. This slide's sort of in honor of my buddy Bob Nelson, who was the 1031 guru, and we lost him a few years back, and heaven's better place for him being there, but a wonderful guy. So he came to me one day, and he was dealing with health issues, and he loved the heck out of his wife and wanted to make sure she was okay. And so he was wanting to convert property from traditional to Roth. And, you know, anytime if we take, so I said something about in-kind distributions earlier. So understand that if you take a traditional distribution, you're receiving cash, you're going to pay normal income tax on it. So you've got the cash, you've got the money to pay the tax obligation. In-kind distributions, you're taking something out without receiving any cash. So you're incurring tax exposure without the cash to pay the obligation. Same thing with a Roth. You do a rollover, you're triggering tax exposure. And just for context, traditional IRA is untaxed money growing tax-free. Roth IRA is tax money growing, or no, I'm sorry. Traditional is untaxed money going tax-deferred. Roth money is tax money growing tax-free. So he wanted to roll his stuff into Roth to take care of his wife. And so, you know, his solution is, look, you know, Bob, yeah, we can do an in plan rollover. Going to change from tax to, you know, tax deferred money to tax-free money, but you're going to have some tax exposure on this situation. So this solution works both for in-kind distributions and for, you know, in-plan rollovers or rollovers from traditional IRA or Roth IRAs. And what we do is we're going to have that conversion, whether it's distribution or a rollover. That event's going to occur. After the event occurs, you're then going to do a cash out refi of the property. The refi money pays the tax obligation. Now the property is owned by the Roth IRA or Roth 401k plan, or it's been taken out in kind. And so if you're looking at in-kind stuff, you know, I would just say as soon as you've taken the last distribution, if you're taking a series of distributions, as soon as you've taken the last distribution, you talk to your lender and get that refi money as, you know, as personal money, not something that's got to be non-recourse debt, which is going to be more expensive. But you know, this is just an example of how you make these changes or how you get something out without having to come out of pocket to pay the tax obligation of what's occurred there. Last slide that we're going to cover, and this is a situation, and if you've been on my classes, I use this in every one because this is just a great example of what's possible. Older couple, husband and wife, retired, each have their own IRAs. They came to us and said, hey, we want to go buy a mobile home RV park with our IRAs. So we start thinking, okay, we're going to start talking checkbook IRAs, you know, IRA LLC. And then they mentioned, well, gee, we want to, we'd like to be the on-site managers, live there and be compensated. Both of those things would trigger prohibited transactions with an IRA LLC or a solo 401k plan. So we shifted gears into rollover business startup, took both his and her IRAs, rolled them in a new 401k plan. The plan bought the corp bought the park. They got an investment, a place to live, and a job, all with this one transaction. And that's just testament to what is possible with this process. Plan ahead takes 3 to 4 weeks to get this thing together. I'm going to say 3 to 4. If we're talking about a 401k plan, we can get it together in like a week. But checkbook IRAs take a while because we got to move money from the current custodian, the new custodian. New custodian is going to make the investment into the IRA LLC. The 401k plans go very quickly, and just slow down, plan ahead. Okay, you can purchase all types of property with IRA or 401k plan. Purchase with family members. Friends cannot purchase from or for them. IRA cannot sell to you or any other disqualified party. You can use an IRA to buy property with the mortgage. Negotiate from the deal's inception in the IRA LLC's name or 401k plan's name. Don't overextend. Plan on keeping a nice cushion reserves. If you put just enough in the IRA LLC to make the investment, and let's say it's a piece of property and it needs a new roof, you can't just add money to that thing. So you want to make the initial investment into the IRA LLC or the 401k plan or whatever it is. We need to make sure we have enough to make the purchase and covering carrying costs until you've got cash flow off that thing that's going to make the thing float. So just be aware of that. As I said at the top, if you're interested in what we've talked about today, you can reach out IRA Advantage, and that's iraadvantage.com or .net. If you've got 1031 exchange questions, issues, concerns, needs, look at 1031exchange.com. If you've got property or investment opportunities that you'd like to get in front of people, take a look at our post 1031 site. And we're happy to accommodate you on those things. There's paid and free listings on that post 1031 site. There's a glossary after this page. So if you get the slide deck printed out, you're going to have a variety of information there. Please help us grow this stuff. Take a look at our YouTube channels, like and subscribe there. It really helps us out. If you've got questions on anything we talked about or anything else in the IRA 401k space or 1031 space, please don't hesitate to reach out. Give us some suggestions for content that you'd like information on. Your clients might want information on if you're a financial advisor or real estate broker or tax or legal professional. We want to create content that's valuable and informative for people, whether it's in our fields of expertise or any of those other investment fields. We've got lots of friends out there, And if you're interested in our newsletters, reach out to see more at 1031exchange.com once again. And thank you so much for spending the time with us today. All my best. Let's make 2025 a great one. And I look forward to working with you soon. David Moore, IRA Advantage, signing off. Thank you.